Mexico's resources, people, and environment. The natural resources of Mexico have affected where people choose to settle and how they choose to work and live. Natural resources. The mountains and plateaus of Mexico contain many important resources. Mexico produces more silver than any other nation in the world. Copper and iron are other major metal products. Mexico also mines gold, zinc, and lead. Mexico's most important natural resource is petroleum, a non-renewable resource. Mexico is one of the top producers of oil in the world. The oil is drilled from wells under the Gulf of Mexico along the Gulf Coast and in high elevations in the south. The nation has large unused reserves of oil as well. Some of these deposits are difficult to tap, however. Mexico needs to invest more in developing these areas so that it can continue to produce oil. Mexico also has natural gas in some of the areas that produce oil. Mexico has yet to fully use this resource. About 1/6 of the nation's electricity comes from hydroelectric power, or power generated by water running through channels and dams. These dams have been built along fast-running rivers on the edges of the Central Plateau and in high southern elevations. Much of Mexico's energy industry is along the Gulf Coast where the oil is located. Refineries near Veracruz and in northeastern Mexico turn the oil into various products. In the past, manufacturing plants were clustered in Mexico City. The government has tried to reduce crowding there by encouraging more manufacturing in the north. Land use and farming. Because of the mountains, poor soils, and dry climates, only about 1/5 of Mexico's land can be used for farming. Less than that is actually farmed. Major crops include corn, wheat, beans, sugarcane, and many fruits and vegetables. Coffee is an important export crop. The waters off the Baja California Peninsula support a large fishing industry. Northern Mexico has many cattle ranches. For several centuries, relatively few people owned large amounts of land in Mexico. The majority of people worked the land for these privileged few. In the 1900s, the government passed laws to break up these large estates and to give land to the poor. Now, though, many families have such small holdings that they can only grow enough to feed their families. Population growth in cities. Mexico has had about 6 times more people in the early 2000s than it did in the early 1900s. Health improvements were important factors in this population growth. The rate of growth has slowed in recent years, but Mexico's population is still growing faster than the world average. About 3/4 of the people now live in cities, far more than in the past. Mexico City is by far the largest city, with nearly 1/6 of all Mexicans living in and around the city. In fact, it is one of the largest cities in the world. Many cities along the border of Mexico and the United States have grown very rapidly in recent years. Many of the new arrivals live in quickly built, inadequate housing. These cities are plagued by overcrowding and a lack of water and sewer systems. Pollution. Pollution from the spread of industry and the growth of cities has become a major problem in northern Mexico. Air pollution is also a serious problem in Mexico City, where clouds of unhealthy air can hang above the city for days. The growth of Mexico's population has led to increased demand on the land. Farmers need to irrigate or bring water to the land in drier areas. Over time, though, salt builds up in the soil of irrigated fields. That salt ruins the fertility of the soil. Overgrazing by cattle is another concern. Because of irrigation and overgrazing, some of Mexico's fragile land is becoming desert. Deforestation. Another environmental issue is deforestation in the South, where poor farmers cut down and burn trees to open new land for farming. Because the heavy rains wash nutrients out of the soil, the land can produce crops for only a few years. Farmers then move on, cutting down trees in a new area. Some of the southern forests have valuable woods. Harvesting of these trees also contributes to the rapid destruction of Mexico's forests.